like and subscribe. Beyond Antarctica, Chapter 17. As the Celeb Mariner cautiously made its way down the river toward the open sea, the road next to the adjacent riverbank bustled with warriors led by the formidable warrior queen, keeping everyone on edge. Bob broke the silence. Nothing like an unwanted escort to make you feel really unwelcome. John, scanning the procession, responded, "That's no joke. How many do you reckon there are, Bob?" "More than I'd like to count or deal with," Bob admitted, eyes fixed on the distant figures marching in sync with their ship's sluggish pace. Kim entered the room, handing out cups of coffee. "Why are we moving so slowly? Didn't you see that army?" she asked. Bob explained, "The river's shallow here. We can't risk going faster. But look," he pointed towards the horizon where the river met the sea. "Open waters are just ahead." But Kim's unease persisted. "It's not just the army that's bothering me," she confessed, moving closer to the window and pointing upwards. John and Bob exchanged puzzled glances before John grabbed the binoculars. Peering through them, he saw 100 or so chrome spheres dancing in the sky. "They're not exactly following us, more like they're hovering over the shore, shadowing the warrior queen's army," John observed. Kim watched as the warrior queen, upon reaching the beach where the river spilled into the ocean, raised her scepter high and turned her army to follow the coastline back from where they came. "Looks like she's heading back from where we came," she noted. "Good. We'll go the opposite direction," John decided as Bob swiftly maneuvered the Celeb Mariner. Bob, at the helm, asked, "Want me to keep us close to the shore then?" John replied, "Yes, keep the coast in visual range, Bob." Kim pointed. "Dad, a dozen or so just broke formation and are headed this way," she said, handing him the binoculars. John, looking, says, "I don't see any heading this way." Kim points out, "No, the orbs, Dad." As John took another look, he saw several silver spheres altering their path. "Seems we've got company of our own," he muttered, watching the spheres approach. "Bob, let's pick up the pace. We might be out of the river, but we're not out of trouble yet." The crew watched in awe as the sky above transformed. The mysterious orbs dispersed, now repositioning themselves in a deliberate formation encircling the ship. The weather took a dramatic turn. What began as a light drizzle swiftly escalated into a torrential downpour, followed by an aggressive storm that churned the sea around them. Bob, gripping the wheel tightly against the howling wind, shouted over the roar, "I think they're trying to sink us. We might need to beach her, sir, to save her. This is getting rough." John pushed Kim into a seat, ensuring her safety first. "Stay seated and hold on," he commanded, his eyes scanning the darkening horizon. The storm intensified, the winds howling like the cries of 1,000 lost souls, the rain pelting the deck with relentless fury. As the ship struggled against the tempest, a solitary chrome sphere appeared directly in front of the Celeb Mariner. Its presence was commanding, compelling the ship to alter its course. The sphere's movements were precise, almost beckoning. Bob, struggling to maintain control, shouts out, "The storm, sir! It's pushing us out to sea." John, observing the sphere's actions, made a quick decision. "Turn the ship, Bob. Follow it," he decided. "I think it wants us to follow it," he mumbled once again. As the violent storm that had battered the Celeb Mariner suddenly ceased, an eerie calm fell over the ocean. The abrupt shift from chaos to tranquility left the crew on the bridge exchanging bewildered looks. Kim broke the silence. "Yeah, that's not obvious or anything. They definitely want us to head in this direction." She gestured toward the horizon where the chrome orbs had sped away, disappearing into the sky at an incredible velocity that left streaks of light trailing behind them. The crew watched in awe as the orbs vanished, leaving a clear path ahead. John, still gripping the railing, finally relaxed his hold and turned to the crew. "All right, let's follow their lead. Prepare for whatever comes next. Keep your eyes sharp and stay on alert," he instructed. Bob, standing at the helm, nodded and adjusted the ship's course to follow the trajectory indicated by the departing orbs. "Heading set, sir. If those things have a destination in mind for us, we're on our way there now," he said, squinting into the distance as if trying to pierce the veil of the unknown that lay before them. "Keep a sharp lookout. John commanded from the bridge. The sea was too calm, unnaturally so, like the deep breath before a storm. As the ship continued on the path set by the mysterious orbs, a shadow began to form beneath the waves, a dark, massive shape that seemed to mirror their course. "Something's under us," Todd announced as he burst onto the bridge. "And it's big, really big." The crew went to the rail and, peering into the deep blue, where the outline of something enormous lurked just below the surface. As the ship sailed further, the massive shape beneath them grew clearer. It was colossal, dwarfing the ship with its immense size. The crew tensed, preparing for whatever might come next. But the creature merely veered off to the side, with its giant form breaking the surface in a display of raw power and grace. Conversations turned from whispers of doom to reluctant admiration of the creature's majesty. Kim, leaning over the railing, watched the creature with fascination. "It's beautiful," she finally spoke out, her voice filled with wonder. The immense creature that had been shadowing them seemed to have satisfied its curiosity. With a graceful turn, it veered away from the ship, its massive form cutting through the water with ease. As it dove back into the depths of the sea, the water around the ship calmed, leaving behind a series of large, undulating waves. The crew watched in silent awe, wonder washing over them as the giant shadow disappeared into the ocean's abyss. "Land, sir!" Bob's voice carried across the deck as the crew caught sight of an island on the horizon. The Celeb Mariner had been at sea for weeks, navigating treacherous waters and mysterious occurrences, and the sight of land sparked a wave of relief. "Drop anchor, Bob," John instructed, squinting at the lush greenery that seemed to beckon them from afar. "And tell Todd and Tony to arm up and head to shore. Have them report back in about 2 hours. I want to know what they find." "Sure thing," Bob replied, turning to relay the orders. He paused, looking back at John with a curious glance. "Where you headed, John? It's not like you not to want to leave the ship for a minute to stretch your legs." "Yeah, I know," John responded, "but I need to talk with Bick. There were some really loud noises coming from his cabin all night, and I haven't seen him today. I'm starting to worry." Navigating through the ship's corridors, John approached Bick's cabin. The usually open door was shut tight, adding to John's unease. He knocked firmly, calling out, "Bick, it's John. You in there? Is everything all right?" After a brief pause, the door creaked open. Bick appeared, slightly disheveled and weary, but he managed a weak smile. "Ah, Captain," he said, stepping aside to let John in. "I think you'll want to see what I've been working on." The cabin was a chaotic array of electronic components, tools, and scattered papers. At the center of the mess was a complex device humming softly, its lights blinking erratically. John raised an eyebrow, surveying the makeshift laboratory that Bick had created. "What in the world have you been up to, Bick?" "Just trying to make some sense of the technology we've encountered," Bick explained, his eyes lighting up with excitement. "I think I might be onto something that could help us understand those mysterious orbs." With John's interest piqued, he asked, "And the noises last night?" "Ah, those were just a few setbacks," Bick admitted sheepishly. John nodded, though his concern didn't fully subside. "Keep me posted, Bick, and try to keep the explosions to a minimum." With a final glance at the curious invention, he added, "And join us for dinner later. We need to discuss our plans for the island and beyond." Todd and Tony returned to the Celeb Mariner with urgency etched on their faces. "Sir, there's a small village of people, diverse and very sick, maybe a dozen or so. They're really sick, sir. I think we should take Kim back to have a look," Todd reported, glancing towards the medbay. John laughed, shaking his head. "Kim's not leaving this ship, Todd. Let me make that clear." As if on cue, Kim appeared behind him. "What? I can't leave the ship. Am I a prisoner now, Dad?" As she passed him, she poked him in the ribs he had cracked weeks before, causing him to wince in pain. John turned to face her. "Kim, look, I have no desire to keep you from helping, but—" Kim interrupted, standing firm. "If you tell me I can't, I'll go get in that dinghy right now. I'm no child, Dad, and you need to start treating me as one of the crew," she demanded. John chuckled. "But you're not one of the crew, love," he said as he moved past her. "Hey, Todd," John called back over his shoulder. "Go back and bring one of them here. Kim will look at them on the ship." John said, "See, Kim, To put this short and sweet, a crewmate would listen to what the captain says, even when he disagrees, not tell their captain they'll just go get on the dinghy, because they did not like the orders. In your own words, you seem to think you have a privilege on this ship that others do not. When you start listening like a crew member, I'll treat you like one. Do we have an understanding, love? Kim crossed her arms. I understand, Dad, but respecting orders doesn't mean I can't express my concerns, especially when it comes to helping others. If you want me to act like a crew member, then I need you to trust my judgment too. We're on the same team after all. John's tone was firm yet measured as he responded. That's exactly my point, Kim. Once you've had your say and I've listened but still say no, you need to accept that. That's where we've been clashing. I do listen. I just don't always agree. And when I don't agree, you need to listen to me. That's how command works, love. I need to know that I can count on those around me to do their job and follow my orders, not just do what they think should be done. You can express your opinion, sure, but if I don't agree, we have to move on. That's critical for us to work effectively as a team. Todd said, Sir, there's something else you need to know, he added, drawing John's attention once more. John stopped and turned back. What is it? They speak English, Todd revealed. In the dim light of the med bay, Kim examined the man, recognizing his symptoms immediately. After administering a dose of antibiotics, she handed Todd a bottle, instructing him, if he shows any signs of improvement by morning, administer this to the rest. As John leaned in, introducing himself with a warm, Hi, I'm the captain. You can call me John. The man expressed his gratitude. Hey, John. My name is Jeff. I want to thank you. You're a lifesaver. We thought we were goners. I was on a routine flight when my instruments failed. I couldn't break through the cloud cover, and this is the first landmass we came across. With almost no fuel left, we had to set her down. He explained further. The plane is at the bottom of the cove, but creatures in the water prevent us from retrieving any of our gear. We've been barely getting by. You're truly a sight for sore eyes, Captain. John, intrigued, asked, How many of you are there? There are 9 of us still alive, the man replied. I was bringing in a small replacement team for an Antarctic scientific outpost, but we never made it. John orders Todd, Bring the rest on board and let's get a head count. Jeff approached John with an anxious look. Captain, how long before I can see my wife? John, puzzled, responded, What do you mean? I mean, how long before we get back? Jeff clarified. John sighed, realizing the misunderstanding. You don't understand. This isn't a rescue mission. We're as lost as you are. Jeff just stared back, fear in his eyes. John changed the subject. Did you find anything of worth here on the island? Jeff nodded. The island's small, maybe 2 miles across. No wildlife, just vegetation. Eerie, silent, but there is a large obelisk at its center. We did find stone tablets there with what looks like a map of ocean currents pictated around the island. We were building a makeshift raft to follow the map's route when everyone fell sick. As they spoke, Bob staggered into the med bay, looking pale and uneasy. Kim, I'm not feeling too good, he groaned. Kim quickly assessed him, noting his profuse sweating. Lay down, Bob. I've got you, she said, administering an antibiotic. Turning to her father, she said urgently, Dad, I need to see the whole crew, and take this. She handed him a pill. John resisted. I'm fine, Kim. I don't need no damn pills. Girl, I'm not sick. Yeah, take it anyway, Dad. This is where we run into problems, Kim stated firmly, with a smirk on her face. As a doctor, when I tell you to do something, it's not just a suggestion. Like you, I expect it to be done. That's how a doctor-patient relationship works, Captain, she said with a wide smirk on her face. John looked up. Yes, you made your point, Kim, he conceded. Reluctantly, he took the pill from her hand, adding firmly, Now back off. His grudging compliance mingled with a faint hint of pride for his daughter's assertiveness. As the medical bay filled with the islanders, John decided to leave Kim to her work and left. Entering the mess bay, he found Tony and Bick already seated at the table. Bick looked up and asked, How are things, John? John, taking a moment to fill them in on the current situation, then takes a sip of soup. Damn, who made this soup? He asked. Sorry, sir. I did the best I could. Tony replied somewhat sheepishly. John, surprised, reassured him. No, boy, you don't understand, as he stood up to ladle more into his bowl. This is good. I mean really good. But tell me, did the base you used come from those big barrels with the red tops? Yes, it did, Tony admitted with a nod. John chuckled. That's the beverage they served us in the Golden City that got us all so drunk. Tony smirked back. Yeah, I know. Bick chimed in. This is the best meal we've had out here since I boarded the ship. John agreed, enjoying another spoonful. This is actually really good. Tony smiled broadly, the pride evident in his expression. I had a grandmother who loved me. She taught me how to cook. I can make an old leather shoe taste good, but you won't catch me doing woman's work often. Captain, I only help in here when it's needed. And today, it was needed. As John reflected on the journey thus far, he couldn't help but wonder aloud. I think those orbs had a purpose for bringing us here, perhaps to aid these people. Tony, looking a bit under the weather, coughed in response. Feeling all right there, Tony? John asked. I'm fine, sir. Tony replied John orders. Either way, Kim wants all crew to check in at sick bay. Head down there now, both of you. Bick nodded, slurping down the last of his soup with an urgency akin to a thirsty man downing a final mug of ale at last call. They both rose from the table, with Bick hastily wiping his mouth as he prepared to leave. As John refilled his bowl, deep in thought, the intercom crackled to life, breaking the calm. Captain needed on the bridge! Captain needed on the bridge! The voice was anxious, almost panicky. John's heart skipped a beat. Who left Kenny alone up there? He muttered under his breath. With Bob incapacitated, it dawned on him. He was the only other crew member with the knowledge and capability of navigating the ship. Kenny was just a deckhand, a grunt, and he never would dare say it aloud. Slow. Dropping his spoon with a clatter, John pushed away from the table and hurried to the bridge. The corridors of the Celeb Mariner felt more claustrophobic than usual as he rushed through them, propelled by the urgency of the situation. Bursting onto the bridge, he found Kenny staring out at the sea, his face ghostly pale. The orbs, they're back, Kenny stammered. With his hand shaking, he pointed towards the horizon. John approached the windows, and his gaze followed Kenny's pointing finger. Sure enough, the mysterious orbs had reappeared, hovering ominously in the sky, a dozen or more. As the Celeb Mariner faced the vast open sea, one solitary orb descended, hovering directly in front of the ship. With an eerie deliberateness, it glided forward, leading the way before snapping back with such speed to its original position it created a resounding crack of thunder. The orb repeated this baffling dance twice more, then swiftly rejoined its counterparts in the sky. It became unmistakably clear that these mysterious entities were urging them onward, yet the ship stubbornly refused to start. Frantically, Captain John tried to start the ship again and again, but the engine remained silent, unresponsive to his growing desperation. Around them, the orbs began to swirl in increasingly rapid circles, stirring the ocean into a frenzy that rocked the Celeb Mariner violently. Just as the situation seemed to reach a breaking point, the engine started. Moments later, Todd burst onto the bridge, his expression one of urgent apology. Sorry, sir. I need to start the engine manually from the engine room because of the makeshift parts we used. I'll have a permanent fix by tonight. I promise you that, he declared. With a nod, John watched as Todd disappeared below deck. Outside, the orbs accelerated their dance, their movements a blur as they darted off into the distance, leaving the Celeb Mariner bobbing helplessly in their wake. John's grip tightened on the railing. The immediate danger had passed, but the journey ahead was fraught with uncertainty. The orb's message was clear: move forward, but at what cost, and to what end? These questions haunted John as he stared into the horizon. John starts the ship moving, in the direction of the streaks in the sky the orbs left behind. Knowing the future is uncertain and the past a distant echo, and their journey was far from over, but wherever it led, they would face it together as a crew, united under this endless sky. This is not goodbye, nor the end. Until the story continues, my friends. B.N.Rocker.